Today we're at Tivoli, about 20 miles outside of Rome, to visit the Villa d'Este. This villa is a magnificent example of Renaissance architecture and of garden design. It was built for Cardinal Ippolito II d'Este. The house was built in the mid-1500s and was used for only about 100 years before it fell into decay. The reason this house is here is the Cardinal Ippolito II d'Este. And d'Este was a very important family in Italy in the Renaissance. They, in fact, controlled the town of Ferrara. And he was the second son of the family, so he went into the clergy. Actually was appointed Archbishop of Milan when he was 10, and then he moved to the French court. So through all of this, he was continuing to get power in the church and money. He was the grandson of Pope Alexander, and he had a huge desire to become Pope himself. And when he was disappointed the first time, and then essentially was then banished here by the person that was elected Pope, he decided to take the monastery that was here and build it into a magnificent house. He, 4 other times, was turned down for the papacy over the next 30 years. He continued to live here until he died, and then it was used later by other people in the church and then fell into disrepair within 100 years of after the completion of the house.
First, we're going to go into the Cardinals Apartments on the ground floor. There are several rooms, including a living room or reception hall where he entertained his guests, then his bedchamber, as well as a library and a chapel. There's no furniture in these rooms, but the ceiling decorations are very well preserved. The frescoes in the chapel are an interesting mix of classical and Christian motifs, and there's a coronation of the Virgin Mary on the vaulted ceiling. Now we're going to go down to the lower floor, where we move through a series of rooms, each decorated with a specific theme, and all of which are connected to nature, mythology, and water. These rooms were used by the Cardinal for listening to music or poetry, reading, conversation, or religious reflection.
The garden is considered to be one of the most fantastic of the Renaissance, both from the way it's laid out, its design, the fountains it contains, the vegetation. It's really a wonderful place to come and just relax and spend some time. And it was set up largely as a main entrance to the house to impress the Cardinal's visitors of his power. Even though he didn't become Pope, he was still a very important person. There are over 50 fountains and then over another 1,000 water features, including waterfalls and spouts and ponds. And all of it was fed by gravity, or is fed by gravity. There's no pumps. So it was an amazing achievement of hydraulic engineering from back in the 1500s. And of course, it's been restored recently because the villa had fallen into a state of disrepair.
The garden is one of the grandest and best preserved of the Italian Renaissance, and it's no wonder that it has become a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's laid out on a central axis, punctuated by subsidiary cross axes. Everything is symmetrical and perfectly manicured. Each section of the garden is connected with walkways and staircases, and everywhere you turn, you are surprised by fountains, grottoes, and pools. It is truly a delight for the senses. Let's take a walk through this fabulous garden. One of the most amazing fountains is the fountain of the organ, which created music through a feat of engineering in which the falling water in the cave agitated the air, which was then in turn forced out through the pipes of the organ. It still works today, and if you listen carefully, you can hear it playing. fountain of the owl used a series of flute-like pipes to make the sounds of birds. The most spectacular of the fountains is the Fountain of Neptune with its sky-high jets of water. This fountain in its current form is not from the Renaissance. It was actually built in the 1930s because the original fountain by Bernini had been irreparably damaged over the centuries.